So I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Municipal Service District Advisory Committee to order, and this is our regular meeting. And I'd like to ask that we have the roll call, please.
David Parfall.
Here.
Sabrina Bingle.
Here.
John Harrelson.
Here.
Mike Lentz.
Here.
Von Lewis.
Here.
Mickey Miller. George Oliver.
Here.
Dr. Jim Polo.
Here.
Johnny Robinson.
Here.
Michaela Rose Watson. Here. I know I just said that wrong, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Karen Sullivan. Here. Alderman Prill.
Here.
Alderman Astor.
Here.
Foster Hughes.
Here.
Kim Mulkey.
Okay, thank you so much. At this time, I would like to recognize our new board members that we have, and that is Dr. Jim Polo, who is here representing the residents, and George Oliver, who is representing the professionals, and Mike Lentz, who is representing the restaurants. So welcome to the three of you. We appreciate your service to this board. But with that being said, I would like to recognize our outgoing members who really did a great job and didn't really have enough time to get their feet dug in, but did an excellent job. And Gretchen DeCasa was here representing the residents, and thank you so much for your service to this board. You did an excellent job, and we miss you, but I'm glad you're here in the audience today, and feel free to participate with us. And also, I'd like to recognize Michael Raines, who represented the professional. And, you know, a brief thing about Michael, his dad, Marvin, just was the backbone, one of the backbones of the Municipal Service District. He was there when it was founded in '78 and helped pull it together via Swiss Bayer, and served as chairman for many years prior to his passing. And I know Michael did a great job in stepping into that role, and I really do appreciate his service. And I just want to thank Michael, publicly for the service that he gave to the board. I really appreciate the time he gave. Okay, with that being said, I'd like to move on to the approval of the minutes of our October meeting, which was our last meeting.
One minor typo I had in the parking subcommittee paragraph. You referred to me as Johnny Miller. Not, it wasn't your name. I'd be very lucky if that were the case. It was Johnny Robinson, so small typo.
That's okay, I called him Jimmy at my last
That's it.
Okay.
I move we accept the minutes as amended.
Okay.
So moved.
And I have a second. Okay, I have a second here already. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you so much. It was Johnny. Okay. Now, per our, I guess there are bylaws. It says that each year at the first meeting, which this is the first meeting of the new year, we are to elect a chair. So with that being said, also too, the ordinance does state that the term of the chair is for 1 year, but there is not a number of terms. So there could be multiple terms if necessary. So with that being said, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'd like to move that we keep Sabrina Bengal as the chair. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
A second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second.
I would like some discussion.
Sure.
I agree that Sabrina did a great job, but I think we ought to consider someone else, just because it kind of helps having fresh leadership, fresh blood in an organization. So if anyone else would like to step up and consider being the chair, I think it would be a great idea.
Okay. With that being said, we do have a motion and we have a second on the floor. So unless somebody withdraws that motion, we would need to act on it one way or the other.
Well, how then would somebody else be nominated? Or if there's a...
So if the motion fails, then you would nominate someone else. But because there's a motion been made and a second, you would have to act on the motion unless it's withdrawn. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Thank you.
we're in the discussion period, so during the discussion period,
You can discuss.
is there anyone else who would like to serve as the chair?
I would, yes, I would like to serve as chair of the committee.
Well, I've also given thought to asking John Carlson to consider chairman.
Don't have the time, but thank you for the consideration.
Is there anyone else that would?
Okay, because we have a motion and a second on the floor. I think the best way to do all those in favor by raising their hand. So all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. So, and all those opposed? Okay, so 6-4, is that correct, and 5-4? Let me say, raise the hands for, against.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
4, 5. For opposed.
No, 4.
Oh.
4.
4, okay.
So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then opposed would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So the motion carries.
So just for clarity, if
Yes,
I
sir.
can ask, I know this is discussion, but being new to the committee, if it's first word out and first second out, that commits this committee to a obligated vote. So-
Yes, sir.
So,
That's Robert's Rules of Order.
okay, even though it wasn't open for discussion first.
Correct.
That's how it should be.
Correct. Because a motion was made.
And that motion can happen at any time.
That it, under the item, yes, it was advertised the item. Under that item, the motion was made, and a second was given to the motion. If there had been no second, then we could move on. If the second had been withdrawn, then you wouldn't have a full-blown motion. Again, Mr. Attorney and City Manager, correct me if I'm wrong.
What if there are two first motions, where
Um,
the motion that, and then a motion occurs?
So a motion would happen, you'd have to have a second to the motion. Otherwise, the motion is not considered a valid motion. You couldn't go forward without a second.
But if I'm not mistaken, I think Robert's Rules of Orders allow for a couple of different procedures when it comes to electing officers, in this case, a chairperson. One was the procedure that just took place. Another option is to open the floor up to any nomination of anybody that is interested in being considered for the position. And then once that step is done, if you have more than one individual who has been nominated, then the committee takes a vote on each one. So that is another procedure that could have been followed. So I think we need to be a little bit careful on just assuming that the procedure that took place was the proper procedure, given the fact that I don't think the bylaws of this committee have spelled out the process of electing a chairperson.
Thank you, Alderman Krill. Let's move along to the next item on the agenda, which is the review of the meeting dates and times. In our October meeting, motion was made and approved for the following meetings for 2025, and that is today's meeting, of course, February 18th. The next meeting would be, and these are regular meetings, these do not account for workshops we may have, Tuesday, May the 20th. The next one will be Tuesday, August the 19th, and then Tuesday, October 21st. Again, these were in our minutes from our last meeting, and they all, the motion was made for them to occur at 12 noon. So that was just a review to let, especially since we have new members, wanted to make sure they knew the dates of our following meetings. Again, we are open to have a workshop at any time that a majority of the group calls for one. All right, Kim, would you go ahead and give us the finance report?
Sure. You have the finance report in your packet. Third page. This gives you a comparison over the last couple of years, with 2025 being the current year, 2024 is last year, and 2023 is the prior year. We're looking at balance sheets here showing our assets, our liabilities, and our deferred inflows and resources and our net position. So our net position at this time is $2,214,026. When you receive the full amount of our tax revenues, then we would be looking at a $2,276,835. If you take a look at the next page, this is the budget to actual report. So 2025, 24, and 23 are all compared, with 24 and 23 being the actual. To the left here, 2025 has the budget in the first column, the actual as of January 31st, and then the variance if it's over or under budget. At this point in time, we are still looking for some tax revenue there to come in of about $67,000. We have some sales tax, of course, that's a little delayed that we're still waiting on as well. And then the rental income that is the farmer's market. It's been received in full as what was budgeted. And then we have the parking rental income that's about $39,000 with about $17,500 still to come in over the next few months. And then we go down to the expenses. I'm sorry, your total revenue as of right now is $307,810. The expenditures, we are at a total of $142,815. Right now, your operating expenses are really just the custodian for the clubhouse. We have the parking attendants, and then there's debt as well. So that being a net position as of January 31st was $122,995 with revenue over expenses.
Just a reminder to people, we're on a June 30 fiscal year end.
Yes. Are there any questions on the budget to actual report?
Yes, please. What is the total amount that is owed, and therefore what is the amount that, if that debt was paid, what is the total amount?
It's on your next page.
Yep.
The next one.
Parking rental income, is that from spaces?
Spaces and
City
just
owned
all
spaces.
parking. So on the next page is your debt report, and this shows the two financings. Their original loan amount. This is the first time you're looking at it. I'll take
So
this.
it's not.
Okay, no, okay. So the balances as of right now would be for 6/30/2025, your debt balance would be $292,700, about $20.
292.
$1,719, yep. And both of those are due to be paid off in the fiscal year 2027-28.
So eliminating that debt from the total amount we have, how much do we have left in the bank that we're looking at to operate with or spend?
You want, if you paid that off?
Yes.
So you have your cash as of right now is $2,213,485. That's on that first page. And then we're going to subtract that, and that would be your balance. You can do that real quick if you like.
So in June, once those tax revenues are collected, right, will be another 60 coming in.
Correct.
We'll have the debt down to 292.
If you, I guess, I'm not sure what you're asking.
So we're looking at an operating budget for those that don't do finance. An operating budget of how much? What will this committee have to work with if we paid off the debt and received all that is due for this coming year?
And the expenditures that are
Sure.
still here. So I could get that to you.
Is
Just
there-
follow back up with you.
Jim, are you assuming they pay the debt off and not just make the regular
Correct.
payment?
Right, just
Okay.
thinking of what the committee has to work with if we work in the next 2 years. what is the amount that we have to
So,
work?
so just think
It's
about
about
fund.
2 million.
Think about fund balance. If this is paid off, it's going to be less than or approximately $2 million,
Yeah.
not including whatever the budget will be for MSD,
Yeah.
whatever is
About $2 million.
allocated.
per
That's
month.
correct. That's correct.
Okay. Got it.
Could we be reminded how much the sale of the Talbot's lot attributed to that fund, please?
I believe that's, when you take a look at the second page, that was in fiscal year 2023. We had sales fixed assets of $825,000.
Right.
And for the very last page, there's a breakdown of the funded projects. In 2024 was the farmer's market for $90,025. This year's tree maintenance was $24,500 is budgeted, and then the Intercorp Fair Plaza survey is $26,000.
So as a clarification, those were projects that this board recommended to the Board of Aldermen
Yes.
over the last year.
Yes.
And they were approved, right? They're green-lit. They're green-lit.
That's correct. This is the survey.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that. Where on the report shows where that money was spent? Under what category do you find that under? Other finance, no, it wouldn't be other financing sources, it would be
So
under
the,
operating or where do you?
yes, it's going to be rolled up into the operating expenses.
Okay,
And
so that's why the actual is so high, of 8937. Okay.
I have a question, probably for Foster. The 90,000 that we approved for the farmers market upgrades, who submitted their businesses to try to get that work? I mean, how does that work?
So we reached out to qualified businesses. The main bulk of that was for garage door replacement. So commercial garage door companies is who we reached out for quotes on that.
Okay.
The other things are done in-house by staff.
Okay, so like the tree maintenance and the core.
So the tree maintenance, that was also bid out.
Oh, it was bid out,
Yes.
okay, okay. Can we know who they were that got those, who got the jobs?
Sure, we can get that information.
Okay, I'm just curious who it was.
I have it right here.
Oh,
So I have the trimming, tree trimming was Jeremy Page. And the farmer's market for the garage doors, right?
yes,
So that's Jasper Overhead Door and then Robert Harrington.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions for Kim about the financial report? If not, can I have a motion to accept the financial report, please?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, next, Foster, the intercore survey update.
So we're going to ask George Childs to come up and discuss this for us.
I just want to, just because we have new members too, so at our last meeting, we spent extensive time with committees going over the inner core properties that are really owned by the city. We decided that we would narrow in on what is just the city-owned property. And we had a parking committee, we had a beautification committee, and we had a trash committee. So they came up with the information, and we kind of looked at a design, and we felt good about what we were seeing, but the next part was a survey to find out the infrastructure and the boundaries, because depending on where we were going to put a trash compactor, and the ingress and egress depended on the survey. So we gave direction and money, or authorized or approved, asking the aldermen to spend money for a survey for this area. So that's what we're looking at today. All right? Go ahead, George, thank you.
And I can provide an update on that survey. So we've got some handouts, and I want y'all to just understand, these are overlaid on top of what they call an uncorrected ortho photo. So curb and shift earth, and then trying to lay a flat drawing on it. So don't take that if you own these properties that you've got a property line running through your building. That is certainly not the case. The survey that's currently being conducted will actually, it's got locations at building corners when they did the survey. So for the status of it, on these two drawings, you can see some faint lines on one of the exhibits that actually shows the topographic survey. So they picked up all of the elevations, the existing stormwater structures, where those pipes go. And that is a necessary planning aspect of if we change the infrastructure in there, we'll need that. We'll change the curb and gutter so we keep a proper drainage pattern to the site. They will be returning on the 27th of this month to do the subsurface utility location. So there's a lot of utilities in that area that are either unmapped or unknown, or we need to identify whose they are and exactly where they service. So there'll be lots of paint marks on the ground, and they'll come back in on the 27th and then survey those utilities, because any improvement on top of those utilities will need to take that into consideration. So that'll be happening on the 27th. We are kind of planning for that first week of March, first, second week of March, we'll get a final, or at least a final review plan of the survey that will actually show the building corners of properties. They will also set some property corners while they're in there. Many of these deeds are referenced to building faces or building corners, so that there won't be one on every single piece in here. But it'll establish a way at least you can look visually when you walk the site to see where some of these corners are. So that's all going to be necessary. Also on one of the handouts, we did overlay it with the aerial and one of the concept plans that was previously provided. I believe this was concept plan A. Now, of course, these are just concept plans. This isn't a final chosen or recommended. It was just as an illustration to kind of see how an improvement may impact other properties or adjoining properties or city property. We have multiple adjoiners in there. There's ingress and egress movements that occur across property lines. There's drainage that is currently traversing across several properties. I'm sure we're going to find utilities that go from building to building or service other areas across different property owners. So as we move forward to establish a plan, we're going to need to recognize that to rectify whatever has occurred in the past or whatever is existing, there's going to have to be cooperation from the adjoining property owners. It'd be very difficult to recommend, at least on my part, recommend investing a great deal of money that then one day could have one property owner say, no, we're no longer going to allow vehicles to cross this section of a driveway or a cross path or whatever couldn't be described in a legal setting. At least there's an attorney on the board. Prescribed easements, I'm not going to get into that. But, there's going to have to be cooperation between all of the property owners to facilitate some type of improvement in it, which I think will be beneficial to everyone. But what we need once we have this survey done is some kind of concept plan that committee feels this is the direction you would like to go. So we need to have that starting point, then to see what we impact that's been identified on the survey and how that may impact the joiners. So to solidify the concept plan would be a good starting point for us to then combine that with the survey. And that's kind of where we sit right now. It is going to be very difficult. It's going to take a lot of effort on everyone to get everyone to cooperate. There's going to be give and take on every adjoiner.
George, are you, without getting too far in the weeds with easements, are you saying there are not easements for the way the cars come in and out?
I am not.
They're what's known as
I'm
prescribed.
not going to speak of prescribed easements and uses and get into people's legal standings on their own property, but there may be. How's that?
There you go. That's
As
good,
not an attorney,
that's like
there may
lawyer
be.
answer.
There may be. A judge hadn't told me if there is or not. How's that? So there are difficulties, but I believe there are. This plan should rectify a lot of the issues we're having. It will also create a better aesthetic view going from Middle all the way through Craven if it's that thoroughfare is the way it's intended to do. It takes care of some trash issues. It also, if it can be worked out, that it rectifies all of the concerns all of the adjoiners have, as well as the city, about how the area is used now commonly by nearly every property owner. So the concept plan, solidifying the concept plan, I believe they've worked on a lot of this. But it will take the parking and the trash and all of it together to come up with exactly what you want.
So
George?
what we have done, oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Can I ask George's question a little differently?
Certainly.
Are you aware of any written easements for this area?
I have not seen the deed research package. There's a reason this survey costs $37,000, and it has to do with deeds tied to the origination maps of Newton.
Thanks.
That is my best answer. I'm not a lawyer.
If I can speak here. I have a survey that was done by Richard Hamilton, was that who did the condos? Dick?
Oh, Dick Hamilton.
Dick Hamilton, yeah. Dick Hamilton did this, and there is an easement that I know of.
Dick ordered it, he was not a surveyor.
Right, so
Yeah.
this is an easement to get you over to the condos. So I know that I believe that's a what
Well,
is that?
and the survey will show these things. We're just showing the status of it right now. So they've got established for certainty where they feel as a sign on the map, these are where the boundaries are, and then those will be imposed onto the drawing. So
Okay.
those are, no easements are shown on this as yet.
Okay, but you're aware of.
Correct. They did an entire deed research on this, yes.
Yeah, that was on that back side, so that was on that end. It didn't impact the end here.
Where you're discussing, but I just know that in the inner core, this is what I had found on file. So-
And there are probably several that have been recorded with different adjoining pieces, but it's just not shown yet on this map. We didn't want
Okay.
There's so much information that when you start doing overlays, the concept plans and aerials and surveys and topo, and then we're gonna add utility drawings, there would have been too much for you to recognize what was on there, so. But we do understand there are easements, and there may be unmapped, just written easements or agreements that could show too, so. Those are all gonna have to be considered when we develop a full plan and take into consideration those or how they stand currently on the property.
Will the impending survey also list the age of the infrastructure that's going to be found?
No. I do know that some of the stormwater was originally redone when they did the inner core originally. So some of the interior, now that does not mean what they tie to it from the buildings may not have been totally upgraded. Because lots of,
Prior to the 80s, when this was originally done, it was basically dirt back there. There was no paving, really no lighting, no electrical. So that was the city's first MSD project, and they put in the paving, the lighting, the storm sewer, so, it's 40 plus years old, 45 plus years old. So that's probably what you'll see there. And going back to our committees, we did kind of pull it all together. We know we want a trash compactor. I think we pretty much decided that was the way to go, but we have to have electric, and we've got to have water, and we've got to have things like that. So that's going to depend on can we get them to about the area. Now, we haven't said, it's going to be A, B, and C exactly here, but we have designated some close area.
We did some concept, plans and looking at some things, but one thing that I would caution us from doing, though, is acting too quickly without having a holistic look at it. And I really think we need to have a master plan for the inner core. Because when we're talking about potentially redoing or reducing parking, that's going to have an effect on a lot of people, not only visiting, but the businesses around there. And to have a good answer for them when that's done, I think is very prudent, that we really need to look at it holistically. So I think they could probably follow some parallel paths, and this could be a component of that master plan. But I really, to say that we've decided on a trash compactor and where it's located and all that, I think we should reconsider.
Are you
making
saying
a
not to
statement
stick
like that.
within the boundaries of the city property?
No, the improvement should be within the
City property.
right that we are recommending, but it should take into account a master plan for the whole MSD. Maybe the consultant comes in after, they typically will have a design charrette, and then they get the feedback from citizens, other staff, and so forth, to hear what those concerns are, to come up with the best plan. And the best plan may be to put, and the citizens, the property owners back there might say, it really would make more sense for the trash compactor, if that is the best solution, to be on my property. And the city has said, we don't want to be in the trash business. And that makes sense too. Why are we putting a trash compactor on city property? But anyhow, I just think we need to look at more than.
David, if I can ask a question in correlation to that, I'm the new guy on the committee, and I recognize that, but I reviewed all the minutes, and nowhere did I see a vote from the committee or any committee come and say that we are settled on a trash compactor.
No, you're right.
Is that correct?
You are correct. We were just, again,
So
we're talking
who is it
concepts.
who
In
is it
our
that's
last,
committed to a trash compactor?
in the last meeting,
Right. No, but you just said we're committed to a trash compactor. Who is committed to a trash compactor?
well, we had, I guess, excuse my word, maybe I shouldn't have said committed, but
Is
we
there-
had all decided that looking at, the number of pickups, the amount of trash, that the compactor could handle twice the amount of trash, it would keep it neater, and so that would be in keeping the majority of trash off the ground and off the area.
But did the committee vote at any time to say that that was the best
Well, we
idea?
gave consensus. I don't know that we voted, but we all, just as we gave consensus on an ingress egress plan, we gave consensus on the beautification information that was given us. We like the idea of a tree. I mean, we didn't vote and say, yes, that tree must be there, but we
Was that
did
consensus vote in the minutes?
the review and report. I mean, anybody else who was here, would you
So-
agree that's what we discussed?
So today, no recommendation
Correct.
has been submitted to the governing board at this time.
No,
So-
I understand that,
right,
but how
so-
about just in the committee? We're just a committee, we're an advisory.
That's
So-
exactly right.
But we're building consensus here. And as the new guy, I just heard we're committed to a trash compactor.
Jen?
I mean, having been at those meetings, I don't think we committed to anything. The trash subcommittee came forward and recommended a compactor. Their subcommittee came forward with a plan that was a compactor. That was not voted on as the way forward by this committee. That was one subcommittee of 3 or 4, and the pieces need to be fit together. And so there's been no vote on a path forward at this point, but each committee has brought a recommendation. The trash committee brought forward diagrams, tear sheets, etc., on a compactor and how it would fit there.
Thank you, John.
And I think what we've gone through is a valuable exercise, and where it has led us is and early on in the discussions was, we really have no right to be looking at these private properties. Our focus should be on city-owned property. So we have gotten that far. And I'm sure that the discussions will continue until there's a final design that makes sense and is finally recommended. But back to the master plan, I think it would be a good idea for us to consider making a recommendation for a master plan.
I agree. I think a master plan is very, very important. We need to look at just that original footprint and, we had one for 40 years and we haven't had one for 10 years, when the last one ended. So for 10 years, we've just been sort of blindly moving forward with areas that we are like troublesome. Oh, well, let's do something about that or this, but we haven't really thought about that that larger picture. And
Maybe it could be something, that was driven by Swiss Bear, both of those.
It was.
And then this was the funding source
It was.
for that, so maybe it's something, again, They have the Main Street program, they work within that. Maybe they could come back with something that would look at doing a plan like, urban design plan 3.0, since we had 1.0 and 2.0.
If Swiss Fair is considering something like that, I am behind you. That would be wonderful to look at some
I
sort of
put you on the
plan.
spot, Karen, but I would think that would be more under your
Yes.
purview than this
It's
committee.
definitely on our work plan for 2025 to try to work with MSD and the city on that.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And so I'm going to have to leave in just a minute to go to another meeting, but I just want to make any comment that this board chooses to make any recommendations, especially if there's been a lot of conversation about a master plan. Don't get in the weeds about what it costs for something like that could be. If you make a recommendation, then staff will tell me about it. We'll discuss it with the governing board and get with the other entities, Swiss Bear and whatnot, and it'll just move along with the budget process. So I just wanted to cover that with you if some action is taken after I leave, okay? All right, I have to go. Marvin will be here if there are any questions.
Thank you. Thanks, Foster.
Thanks, Foster.
I'd like just for clarification, for my clarification, to talk about a master plan. There's also in the past been discussing urban design. Are we using those terms interchangeably? When you say a master plan, are you talking about like an urban design plan?
Yeah, they could be.
Okay, because I just want to make sure you weren't talking specifically to this inner core
No, we're
area.
talking about the MSD.
Perfect, thank you. Because I would remind everyone that this inner core area has been a point of discussion and work primarily by Swiss Bear originally for probably 15 to 20 years. And the idea of getting consensus has escaped every effort for the last 20 years because the proverbial herding of cats. And that was the reason that this committee, when you were here, decided, let's look at the city property, which we can control. That's a cat to herd, not 20-plus cats. So there's a reason that we have looked at just the city property and gone forward with subcommittees to review what are our options there for fear of not building consensus. That's been the case for decades.
Speaking of consensus, do you need private property owners to weigh in on the use of the city property? You don't, right?
No.
So that is something that if we recommend it to,
It-
I didn't say we shouldn't. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, if we recommend it to the aldermen, that's something that the city can say, yeah, I'll put a trash can out there.
Well, and, that would be the alderman's battle, not
Right,
ours.
right.
And certainly would have to comply with zoning ordinances, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about this easement thing. And a prescriptive easement is basically adverse possession, to open and notoriously trespass for 20 years. And I don't even know how that relates to this because I don't know if we're saying the city did for access to that or not. That's a whole,
Just really quick, so back in the 80s,
yeah.
there was nothing downtown, it was dead.
Yeah.
So the property owners, MSD was new, came to them and said, look, we're willing to work with the city if you'll come in and pave it and fix it, because we think if there's parking, it'll make our buildings more valuable and help us. So the city agreed, it was a 20-year lease. They went
Lease to the city.
to the city,
Okay.
and the properties, that's when the paving was done, the parking spaces were put in, lighting, and the route that you see, that happened during that time. And then when the 20-year period was up, downtown had achieved some success, and people saying, "Nuh-uh, that's my property, these are my parking spaces, I need them for my building, so now the public can't park here anymore."
Okay.
So then the city could not get anybody to come to terms, and that was probably, 20 years ago, 15,
So in
20?
2020, that happened, 2020?
No, before that.
20
No,
years
before
ago.
that,
So
before
we're in
that.
2025. So it was, what year did that prescriptive easement, that
Well,
lease run out?
So they started doing the original paving and lot, I have the article here from when it was originally done, was in 1982. So it was 20 years, so in 2002, the leases expired.
Okay.
So since then, no one has been able to bring the parties together to get another either lease or use of the property. So
But you
it has
may-
been
yes.
another 20 years.
You may not, I don't think you need that to do what we're talking about here. So the prescriptive easement, you might need a little opinion on it, I don't know why you would.
Aren't you glad you're not Scott Davis?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, because I don't know what you would need an easement for, because you already have, you're not landlocked in the city. You go from street to street, right? Okay, in the middle.
Well, it really kind of goes from Craven to Craven. I mean, well, the vehicular traffic.
Oh, yeah. But as far as the access, you're not landlocked in the middle of something, so.
And I think the reason for the discussion about prescriptive easements is more the traversing the other properties outside the city. For example, if
For a trash truck.
trash truck comes in, it has to navigate.
And it's the can of worms, no question.
Yeah.
No question.
At one time, the property owner who owned Morgan's, does no longer own Morgan's, decided that they didn't like what the city was doing and put cinder blocks on their property lines, so then the other people who owned property behind that, who had parking, couldn't get to their property
I see.
because it was blocked, because that is their property.
If they did it for 20 years, they might.
Well, I mean, they would, it is their property, because most of these properties, you can look here at this map and see that they do extend into this, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a right-of-way, but into this area where people turn around and park and pull in, and that's kind of how that, so just a little update on that. More discussion, more comments, questions. So I think what I've heard, just want to make sure, is that we're going to ask Swiss Fair to come back to us to talk about a new urban design plan, and that would be for the whole MSD, not necessarily for this space itself. And then we can discuss that and fund that or not fund that, or make a recommendation to the city about that.
I'm not trying to be contrarian, but I think it's safe to say that this group feels we need an updated urban plan. I think it's safe to say that Swiss Bear does not have a budget for a $60,000, $70,000 urban plan. Is there a reason that this group can't make a recommendation to the aldermen that we need to move forward with an urban plan? It's way past time.
I agree, but wouldn't it be better for them to say, okay, this is, we found the people, this is what it is, this specific cost is $67,000, you know, and that we make that
Get a few
recommendation.
proposals, perhaps.
Exactly,
Okay,
and then I
great.
just think it would, so it's not back and forth, one and done. Because otherwise, if we recommend it to the Board of Aldermen, and then it gets kicked back to them, and it's back and forth, and I think one fell swoop would make it easier, so if.
Swiss Bear will be kind enough to do some legwork for us.
Yeah, and that would bring it back to us, and then at least, you know, we could all agree that this is what we would like to do at a cost we would agree on,
Good.
and make that recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. So, how do we feel about maybe, I guess, another workshop with our committees again? Because I think we need to stay on this task. Even with a design plan, I feel like we need to somewhat stay on this plan. We need to wait to get the survey so that we know what the utility, I think it's really important to know about the utilities, the water sewer, because regardless if we put a compactor or not, where we put it, we need the water. We know that. Therefore, we need the sewer and the electric, so.
And then when we talk about utilities, we don't want to forget, we've got natural gas back there, we've got fiber for telecommunications, there's lots of other utilities that encumber a lot of those areas that we need to have located.
We need, I know one of the things we talked about was the lighting, more lighting back there, because, you know, at night it's dark and that's dangerous. We want people to feel comfortable to flow between the two streets. Therefore, we want additional lighting. I don't know if it's going to include what's really the real Federal Alley. We see those lines on the side. If you look at the colored map, you see that is what's known as Federal Alley, because that was where the trash trucks used to come down through there to pick up the trash. And we've started to do some things. You see some art back there a little bit. Swiss Fair had started that project. I believe we got a $50,000 grant to do some things back there, but we'd like to see it continue with some upgrades and lightings. That could be part of this whole package as well, in looking at that.
Those are City of Newburgh.
Yes, City of Newburgh got that.
And we have the lighting.
I'm sorry.
For the main corridor with Morgan's, we do have that grant funding already.
Right. But, you know, continuing that upgrade and keeping it, and looking at the project as a whole.
George, is that one still active? Or is that
No, it's still there, yeah. We've got the remaining portion of what we've got right now is some signage, or some kind of sign coming in the Federal Alley, and then the lighting, which we've already purchased all the light fixtures and have electrical plan for that.
And then between. Is there an expiration on those? If we don't use them?
Those funds we actually have.
Okay, good.
That's for Federal Alley.
Yeah,
Coming out
that's
of
Federal Alley.
Michael Lee?
Okay, I just want to point it out that Federal Alley is city property, and it used to be the trash area, even though we're talking about a trash compactor. Okay, and of course, I live on the other side of Middle Street, and we deal with a lot of we have our garbage in conjunction with BTM. So, you know, we got a lot of cans back there. We've got, we're a residence and a business, and then there's a business next door to me, and then we have BTM. So the three of us share that, and we've got about, I don't know, 15 cans back there with those four entities that deal with that. And going back to everybody possibly trying to figure out their own trash situation, that is city property. So that is also something that we've never really considered on how to go back and use that property for everyone to be possibly dealing with their own garbage versus dealing with the group situation, which seems to be always messy, dirty, even picking things. There's always it's just always nasty back there. There's rats, there's all kinds of things that go on that way. So I don't know.
And that's behind your building?
Where we are on the other side, we have Chris Bass, so we work with Chris Bass, and then the olive oil store, and then there's us. But we maintain all of our we got about 15 cans back there.
Is that enough cans?
It seems to be for all of us. I mean, I have a regular trash can, recycle, olive oil has the same thing, and then BTM mostly has recycled because most of them is bottles. They don't do food, but most of it is bottles and whatever else. But we've got, and everything gets wheeled out on Monday morning. Well, they come every day to, deal with their cans, but the rest of us, we do Mondays. And then, South Front Street's lined with trash cans, and then Monday afternoon we pull, they come early. So that's what we do.
So, Michael Lee, are you suggesting that Federal Alley would be a place for all those cans for those?
I'm making that suggestion for us to consider it because we've never discussed it, and it is city property.
Well, but then does that put us in that situation again where the city says we don't want to be in the trash business, and then Public Works is maintaining that, which I don't think they
got reds make it pretty.
Who wants to walk by trash cans in jail?
How can we spruce up Federal Alley to make the trash cans more invisible? If they're all there versus a big trash can in the middle of the inner core. So in the middle of the inner core, where we want to do a nice sidewalk that goes all the way to Craven Street so people can access Craven Street, I don't know. And again, I think we need that master plan.
Yeah, and
that's what I think we need.
A detailed design of that I'm going to call it Bern Plaza extension.
There, yeah.
It really should be Bern Plaza extension, because that's really what is
Correct. I agree.
going to happen. But incorporated with that could be some sort of decorative wall where the trash is behind that, so people walking through there are not seeing it.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, I mean, that's something that can be developed through the detailed design.
Yeah, there's a brick wall has been in discussion around it, not a complete brick wall. Obviously, you have the room for the trucks.
City code requires buffer, barrier, visual screening. That's a de facto.
HBC regulates the height of that wall. Now, could we get over that? Could we get a variance, or maybe just to make it look pretty? I mean, it goes back to the old Disney engineering idea of making something utilitous invisible.
Yeah. George, is James Reed Lane owned by the city?
Yes.
Could we request that future versions of this show that?
I'll see if we can encompass that in our survey. I'm not sure we extended the survey that far, but certainly we could show it on.
Even just throw the orange lines on there.
Yeah.
And I would add that Federal Alley has a lot of electrical equipment, et cetera, on there. It's quite narrow. I think it wasn't an alley for horse-drawn wagons. It would take the vehicular traffic.
How fun would that be to pick up the trash with horses? Oh, come on.
So, the idea of trash going there between the and it's, it's been through through some beautification for pedestrian traffic. So
I'm in the essence of time, because I'm going to try to, we got some other things we need to discuss to move along.
Can I ask a question
Yes,
before
sir.
you go on with
Yes, sir.
trash? Have we ever considered the larger rolling trash cans that are used in many cities, that move towards the users or the folks that create the trash, and then are rolled, not just the small 55-gallon ones, but the ones that are bins that are then picked up by GFL or the like, so that they are mobile, but they're secured closer to the restaurants or the businesses that generate the trash?
Vaughn, you can tell me this, and I'm not sure.
I think
Mike,
that's how we were, and then there was all these
Is that helpful?
55-gallon,
Was there a helpful
trash things behind my place, behind ABC, behind, then you had all these, so then we,
Looks like a
the
small
city tried to
dumpster.
consolidate.
Correct.
But,
I know, we haven't
as a
discussed
restaurant
that.
owner, high usage of trash, and certainly not bars, or the Morgans and all that, but there's a lot of trash generated back there, and it's we can't use 20 cans. I mean, I'd fill up 10 in a day.
And your trash is always stinky.
Thank you.
Seafood,
But the food is good.
Seafood does have a special odor.
Street, like New York City.
Thank you for ensuring.
Yes. Again, this, and I think we can beat the horse to death because everybody has different needs, and the whole idea in looking at this was to consolidate, was to try not to have 20 trash things. It used to look so unsightly. You'd go back there and you'd see maybe 15 of those 20-gallon, the smaller roll carts, and, have people walking through. That did smell in the summertime, plus the trash from the restaurants made it really difficult. So these are all things that we've been trying to look at. We've been trying to, get ideas. That's why we kind of, again, looked at the trash compact, which is how do we take the volume and reduce it to a smaller volume and not have as many trash cans.
And for those of you that weren't on the committee, the trash compactor would not be owned by the city. The compactor is actually owned by the trash company, and that all the mechanisms are self-contained within that compactor, and they trade it out. So they take the whole thing away and bring an empty one back. That's the process.
Back to, since we're in the idea phase, have we talked about those roller bins that can be as an alternative? We just said no one wants to walk past smelly trash and we have too much to do. But some other alternatives can be those wheeled bins that cities have used.
But what is the capacity? I guess that's the question. What is the capacity of them?
Well,
If the capacity is not large enough, and they would stay, I guess, at the back door, I don't know, I guess they would stay at the back door of your property, and then what we wheel, would it be picked up every day?
Between properties. where-
Again, it's capacity, I don't know that we have seen anything, I don't know if
Should we possibly
GFL,
explore that as an alternative?
I don't know why, we could
Are you
look at
talking
it.
like the green bins behind the condos that
No.
line that wall?
No, those we all use, and clearly, but
Those
there
are
are
just-
larger bins that are on wheels.
We have
that are-
blue ones. Skycell has blue ones that are taken out every week.
Okay.
There's
So
like
larger
one or
capacity.
2 yard, 1 or 2 yard.
Yeah.
They're smaller, they're much larger than what you would consider
Right.
as a.
I was going to say they're probably between 100 and 150 gallon would be my guess.
Probably not large enough
They're front
as the
load.
dumpster,
They're front load, but they're not, you've got to consider the cans that are existing and ones get serviced every day.
Is this something the trash subcommittee can consider?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll look into it. One of the issues that I can see, there are a lot of buildings that are landlocked and don't have much outside property to put some of those things. So you would need another concerted effort of herding cats to get those things placed somewhere. That's just one issue that I can see arising.
Also, with the volume, where are you going to take it when it's full anyway? Where are we taking it?
And also depending on the
Is it
weight,
a day?
if an
The
employee,
restaurant's gonna fill
we
it up.
have varying sizes of employees, and we have discussed the MSD paying for a part-time person to kind of walk around and maintain this whole trash idea, clean up some things.
If there's a compactor, is MSD paying for that pickup?
No.
The businesses.
The business will be paying that through GFL.
Okay, they each have to,
That's
be able to
correct.
use it, the code or whatever. they do.
Right.
Okay,
That's
got
correct.
it. Okay.
But I think it's worth the trash committee particularly asking restaurants, what's your volume? How many cans would it be? Where could you store them? How often would they need to be emptied, et cetera, et cetera?
All right, again, so we are going to wait for the survey, could be sometime in March, and I'll let Foster look at that, and if we need to call a workshop, we'll call a workshop, okay? Let's go ahead and just move on to the crosswalk discussion. At the last meeting, again, we asked George to go back because we were looking at upgrading the crosswalks. We talked about the existing pavers that came from underneath the street and several other things, so you were going to get that information and bring it back to us.
And you know, we're back to this, the similar information that we provided to you before about the bridge. We've got the information. I'll let Dave Fischel, the Assistant Public Works Director, discuss the pricing scale that we had gotten. You know, we've got the brick option and then the thermal full option. The brick option is more suitable on intersections that we can shut down for a more substantial time period. As you work your way onto the higher volume traffic roads, like the foot of the bridge at Union Point, that one may be difficult to do in real brick just for the fact that trying to shut that intersection down for 14 days, 10, 14 days is not really feasible. We also have to take into consideration several of our traffic signals all going down East Front and then down Broad have loop systems in them, so you have integrated hardware in the pavement that would need to be taken into consideration. Also, as you try to introduce crosswalks or any kind of surface that would disturb those loops where we have to replace them or alter them. So, you know, our recommendation is to pick one intersection and let us do one. You know, we're never going to get through downtown by you know, trying to pick here or there, looking at it as a totality of the entire downtown area. And, you know, our initial thought is the Pollock and Craven intersection in front of City Hall would be a great one to start on. We would recommend doing those in brick. We would not recommend using historic brick, as historic brick is not traffic rated, and it would take great replacement every time they're broken. So we can use a brick that's very similar, but it's a modern brick that's all traffic rated and we put down. That way we could close the legs of intersections, say on Pollock, do both sides, and then close the legs on Craven and do those without impacting traffic tremendously downtown. It'll be an inconvenience, but we can work through that. The pricing that we provided previously was, so that's about 12 months old maybe now. This was pricing that was actually utilized by a contractor in Greenville that they're doing all of the infrastructure and stormwater upgrades in downtown Greenville. And so they have installed these brick crosswalks. So, you know, as a point, if this is something y'all would really like to push on, we would recommend the Pollock and Craven intersection as a starting point. Let us work through one.
Is this the 157,590?
I'll let Dave provide some pricing here on it. And this is, and this project, like any project that we undertake of this size, we would get construction plans and have it bid out. So we would have to bid out and receive that bidding on it to get the best, most current price. As my cost estimates now, I don't hold them very tight because I'm surprised every time we bid anything currently.
That's a ballpark.
Yeah.
At least
That's a ballpark. We feel fairly comfortable that that is a contractor from Eastern North Carolina, and he's performed work for us before, so I don't see we hadn't seen a huge price increase on concrete recently, so that's the one aspect. Bricks really not changed per unit cost. So those would be the material-wise on that. So we still have to encumber the intersection for some period. And when we do these things downtown, when we plan any large infrastructure project in an intersection, we try to do it after the first of the year to the beginning of spring. That's when we don't have city festivals downtown. We obviously can't do this when there are parades or street closures or Mom Fest or lots of even foot traffic downtown. This is the slowest period. We have a window to do heavy infrastructure downtown. So we're in that window right now. And it would probably take us 6 to 8 weeks to get this out and get price on that if we move forward from today.
All we could do is really suggest it to the Alderman, then the Alderman would have to place it on the agenda and go forward, so that could be another month process.
correct, but we could get it lined up. And we can work around schedules downtown. Craven's not quite as impactful as Middle is. So when we get to Middle, we'll have to think about scheduling a little tighter.
So for clarity, you're talking about thermoprint brick in a 4 square in the intersection.
No, actually, at Poly and Craven, we use real brick.
Okay.
It's similar to the crossing that is, that comes across from Christ Episcopal to the opposite side of Poly right now is brick. So it'd be that similar style
Is
crossing.
there any traffic slowing with raised brick or anything to?
We would not do tabletops there.
Okay, so it's just a cosmetic improvement?
It would be, yes.
Make it a little safer, though. I think people seeing crosswalks like that
Mhm.
tend to slow down maybe when they're coming and seeing people
It does.
cross sometimes.
Yeah, make a little.
Can we put the bear, another bear? I love
We
the little
can
bears.
possibly put a bear in there, because that one is kind of unique in other crosswalk.
So are you saying the traditional brick, Craven and Pollock, is then thermoplast on the other 2 intersections?
Well, not
Right now.
necessarily, but as we look at the ones mainly on, from the bridge going to the traffic circle, any crosswalk there, and then possibly down some on Broad that have loop systems tied into the traffic signals.
Yeah, pretty much East Front Street and Broad Street will be tough to do.
Yeah, those may be tougher. Now, I'm not saying we can't do them, but I think we could install the real brick on the Pollock intersections, and then possibly some on the South Front Street
I mean,
intersection.
that's really the factor of detouring, not so much the actual traffic itself.
Correct. Yeah, we just, when they come to the foot of the bridge, we have no place to send them, so they make it difficult.
Okay, 6 to 8 weeks for a bid, once it's approved, if it gets approved, and then another 14 days to completion? Is that what you would?
Well, not that quick. So then we have a contract that then would have to go through the contract process, and then we would have to get their schedule and give a notice to proceed, which, you know, as you do that into negotiations with contracts, you see what their open schedule is too, and that's taken into consideration selecting a contract.
So if we say to move forward and then it goes through the process of the alderman, you're looking at next January, February, March to do this? Is that what you're saying? You know, which is...
Not, I mean, we may be able to squeeze it in. I'm not saying that we could. We're just going to, very quickly, we're going to get back into the high traffic pedestrian season downtown, and I don't believe any of y'all want us to impact that.
Other questions? Anybody? I'd like to see this move forward. At least let us try one, and we can see how it looks, how it
That's
feels.
a motion?
Yeah, I guess so. We could probably go ahead and just have a motion to recommend to the alderman that we move forward with one crosswalk at the intersection of Pollock and Craven.
We're talking one crosswalk.
Well, an intersection, rather, one
There'd be four
crosswalks at one intersection.
We do both ways.
Blah, blah, blah.
And also put in there non-historic brick.
Non-historic, traditional traffic rated brick.
Yes.
We're getting, I mean, they may have some modules that are very close that have tumbled edges we could possibly use, and when they grout it, they can also do something to make it look a little more in the historic fashion.
I think it would be good. So if somebody wants to make that motion, that would be.
Well, I'll make the motion
Okay.
To approach the alderman to look into a bid for paving with traditional non-historic bricks for Craven and Pollock Street. Crosswalks,
For crosswalk.
Intersection.
The complete
intersection.
A second.
That's what I like. Teamwork. Makes the dream work. Okay, so I have a motion, and that motion is to move forward to the Board of Aldermen with a redo of the intersection at Craven and Pollock with non-historic traditional brick. And I do have a second. Okay. Any other discussion?
Yes, please. For clarity, it's this last page of this packet that under traditional brick, we're looking at this program here, this is what we're recommending to the alderman, and the estimated cost is $750,000.
No, it's because we're only doing one.
So I just heard Craven and Pollock.
Correct. The
I think that
crosswalk,
is-
it's one crosswalk.
We were talking about 8 intersections, so I think that number is for all total 8.
So we're just recommending that we just do one of them?
One.
Yeah, we're just going to start here.
And-
That's
Correct.
about 100,000 at this point.
107.
107.
Do we have that proposal to vote on, or is it, we're just going to tease
They
it?
will ask for bids for the
Yeah.
work,
Okay.
so that's not a formal
Is there a
bid.
reason we are not recommending all of them for the?
Well, because we want to try, they want to try one, and we're going to get the lay of the land, I guess, and see if
We
it's
shut down all the
George said that,
intersections at
but-
one
Yeah.
time.
But shouldn't we empower the aldermen to vote on it, and then they can parcel that money out to do it? Or are we going to dictate whether we like the look of it or not with MSD money?
I don't know how the board feels, but I think trying one, and let's go through that process, and, you know, pricing, contractor, whatever. It's easy enough once you get it going to go back and say.
Once we do the first one and we like it, then
Yeah.
then let's do the other
ones.
7.
Yeah.
Then, that's what I'm thinking. Because you made the recommendation, let's start with one and see how it
Yes.
goes.
I'm taking
truthfully,
advice of
the
staff.
feasibility, say you approved all the intersections, it would still probably take 12 to 18 months of construction time as we work around city festivals and things like that, working from intersection to intersection. So it wouldn't all happen in a 14-day window. So, you know, if you go this path of one intersection at a time schedule-wise, that probably works better with downtown foot traffic and impact and things. So that feasibility one at a time is just as well.
And for history too, isn't that how we did all the pavers on the streets? We took like a street at a time, a
Correct.
block at a time, then another block, and another block. And that,
Do we, this would maybe be an amendment to your thing, but do we want to suggest any kind of cap on expenses? I mean, if they come back and say 200,000 for that one intersection, would we still recommend that? I'm not sure we wouldn't, but I just, you know.
I think that's something that, I mean, if it's,
I guess
you
that's
know,
really the board's
50%
question,
more
not
or
ours.
something, yeah, it
That's the
really
board's
is,
question, not
it
ours.
is theirs. I think they understand we want to do it. You've got 2 aldermen here, I think they see what our intent is. Our intent is to upgrade Crosswalk and look at it, you know, if it's going to be that crazy beyond what we've looked at here, I'm sure they would say, let's go back to the MSD. Would you agree, Alderman Astor and Alderman Burrell?
Well, I think once he goes on bids, he probably should give that information to you guys, and maybe you guys decide whether or not we want to proceed with that cost.
And we could do that by just putting it out there and have a quick meeting.
Does this board recommend projects, or that a certain amount of money be spent on a project? So you need the information first, is that what you're saying?
Well, we've gotten the information as far as
So a window,
crosswalk.
maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we could say up to 150, you know, if that would help, if you want to amend to that, or whatever percentage you think.
Well, whoever's going to be doing it knows that there's 7 more to follow. So it would be in their best interest to do it as effectively and as inexpensively as possible so that we give them 7 more to do. I mean, is that like part of the negotiations?
If I gave them 7 all at one time, I might get a better
Yeah.
price.
But there could be that
We
promise.
pick qualified contractors.
Yeah.
So we have a comfort level with the people that do the work. You know, whether or not they show up to bid repetitively on similar work really has to do with their work. If they're contracted in other places, we may not see them out of bid. So for me to have comfort in saying you're going to get the same price 7 times in a row, I would not guarantee that at all.
So I have a motion and I have a second. Is there an amendment to that or not? Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Marching orders, that's good. Okay, next, Mr. Williams, do you have MSD project proposals? If you all remember, on our website, people can propose projects to us, and I'm sorry that we're over time right now. We'll try to move through this as quickly as possible. And I guess there were 1 or 2 submitted, is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 2. One was for, a request was for some water, being that we got the waterfront community, they wanted to see if we would consider more dockage downtown so that tourists can utilize downtown more, make it more accessible for more docks. And the second one, there was a request for digital signs for wayfaring signs We had gotten, had spoken to, I think it came from Mr. Robinson, regarding one company that does the icons, and they indicated that the size of our, right now they currently only go to like the top largest cities, so we don't fit into their categories right now, but we are still looking into other options. But those were the two that we've received so far.
On the dockage one, I think, didn't we have some discussion on that? And we didn't think that it was in the, I don't think they pay MSD tax.
The water.
Yeah, we don't know.
The water.
You go to the water's edge, not
Yes.
out over the water.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the only other suggestion we had, we did get some input from the city clerk regarding concerns with the meeting times, what time the meetings are, so for you all's consideration.
Laura, back to that, I submitted the wayfaring thing because I was up in Cincinnati this summer and I saw a really, really cool sign. It was about 7 feet tall by 3 feet wide. It was basically a big iPad, and you could click on it and see what was going on in a certain area, and that's what I sent them. And are there any other vendors out there similar to that? I took a picture of that and sent it over to them, but.
If they're turning down business, I want to get in their business.
Yeah, well, that's what they said. It went through our PIO, and she's still looking into other options.
The Main Street Conference might have a vendor there that might do
That's
that.
a good point. Yeah, we'll look over there.
I can talk to Melissa about it as well.
She's
Melissa
been looking at that.
has been looking at that, so that's something she and I have on our plan together to work on, so we'll look at that as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to formally submit it. I thought it was really cool, and it'd be something, as you're walking around town, you know, if Nicker's Kitchen was put open these hours, or somebody else wants, you know, MJ's wants to put a dinner special on there or something.
We also were trying to look at if that's possible for people to book things on, like some of the boat tours and things like that. You know, if it is Wi-Fi connected, then that way people can book travel, like those little trips and things like that on that sign, because they don't have an actual storefront or space downtown that they can do that, so.
And I also, in working with Gretchen, she left this with me, and just for us to reconsider the expansion of the pavers along the 100 and 200 blocks of Pollock Street. You know, we talked about that. They did not have pavers, they had scoring down those streets. So just remember doing the sidewalk area as it was done along the 500 block of Pollock outside Tryon Palace, which I think is kind of with stones or something like that.
It's brick.
It is brick, okay. You know, ultimately, we want to go down East Front Street and continue the pavers down there. We're going to hopefully work with the city at some point with their new pier and maybe a roadway to that pier. You know, along with us upgrading the crosswalks throughout the entire MSD, a multi-phase project beginning with Middle and Craven. So we're doing that. So great. Thank you for that. And then, of course, beautification of Federal Alley up to Middle Street and from Middle to Hancock. More benches, lighting, plantings, murals. I think we all want to see that. And it's a good association with the Arts Council. I'd like to see us work more with the Arts Council and putting public art. I think that's a great thing. We've got an organization there that has wonderful background on that to do that, and of course the plants and things, but then it gets into how do we water them, how do we, you know, all of that good stuff that we talked about before. But it would be nice because we go to many communities where they have the light poles and we see the plants hanging and they're just gorgeous. But how do we water? We have no water source down
So
there.
that guy that maintains the trash
Can go over there.
Yeah,
that would be that.
Very good job description.
Yeah, that would be a good. We're gonna put you in. You just volunteered for that, okay?
Picking up cigarette butts as well.
Yes.
Retired, look at your job.
Right, yeah.
Also, I would like to suggest something, maybe an additional trash can out in front of Pinky's. I've been talking with Jeff about it, and it seems to be a place you have to go, you have to walk a certain distance. That's kind of really far to get to the closest
You gotta
trash
walk all the way
can.
up to Front Street for the closest one, or,
Well, there's one at Bear Plaza. There's two at Bear Plaza.
yeah, well, that's a good distance from our place.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're right in the middle
No, I agree.
of that. I mean, it was really a perfect spot, and it would, you know, because we're constantly sweeping up and moving stuff in. I mean, it would really help. It would really help.
It was also, someone from, a couple from Sky Sail said, you know, it'd be really great if we had a couple of benches along the Riverwalk where people could watch the sunset and watch the train. As it, you know, I thought that was a great idea. So just, because you're doing the Riverwalk, there's nothing, once you leave the marina as you head towards the railroad tracks. So a couple of benches and a couple more trash cans, I think would be a wonderful thing for visitors. And everybody walks at night, we all walk all night, so, yeah, anyway.
Well, certainly.
And I would also, if we're talking about new ideas, bench dividers, I know it's come up on the committee before, but bench dividers are an opportunity. Where do we stand as a committee recommending to the alderman to?
Well, we did, Foster and I have talked about it many times,
Yeah.
and he said because it does help with the sleeping population, because by putting the dividers on there.
Right. Has the committee forwarded a recommendation to the
Well,
alderman that
you
we
know,
use money?
yes, I have. I don't know,
Have we
Rick, if you
voted on it?
followed
We have
up
not
with him,
voted
but
on it.
I have talked to him
Okay,
several
good.
times about that.
How does, as a new committee member, how do we bring ideas here so that we can maybe move forward on it?
We have an item on our agenda that says MSD Project Proposals, so
that where we
we
are
take
right
those from the public and/or ourselves. So
Okay.
this would be
Thank
the
you.
time that you would do it.
So
Thank you.
then I do make that proposal that there are small projects that have been discussed a year ago when we were forming this committee. And one of them was bench dividers. It's a low-cost item. It would have a huge impact. And I think it's brought up by many folks, residents and business owners alike, that if we could put bench dividers up, recommend MSD funds be used for that. It benefits, everything meets all of the
Yeah, it does.
criteria.
There's no doubt about it. And I mean, I asked for those several years in a row because of issues that I had as the alderman with, you know, people sleeping on benches, unfortunately.
Can I make a motion that we?
Or can we ask George to get
Yeah,
a price
get the
for
pricing
that?
on those, yeah.
I've got some older pricing, but when we say inexpensive, I believe I recall it $300 to $400 a piece for the divider section, per bench.
Well, why don't, would you please, I guess the thing would be to bring back to our next meeting.
Yeah, so George, I don't know if I can ask directly or make a motion to do so, but would you bring that information to the next meeting?
Sure.
And then, if you know, an estimate of how many we need to.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
That'd be great.
Yes, thank you. Okay, the last item on our agenda is public comment. As you know, too, we have a public comment section for our meetings that happen, our regularly scheduled, so 4 times a year meeting. So is there anybody from the public that would like to make a comment?
I actually have a question, and I was going to ask Foster, but he's not here.
Could you
Maybe
just
George-
state your name, though?
Oh, I'm sorry, Gretchen Peza.
And your address.
217A Pollock Street.
Thank you.
I forgot, you're right. It was actually a question for Foster. I'm not sure, maybe George could answer it. With the project that we did for the farmer's market, there were other things besides the garage doors that were supposed to be part of that project. Has that all been completed? There was bathroom upgrades, and there was overhead fans and things like that that were supposed to be included in that project. I was just curious.
I would have to let Foster answer that question on the interior finishes. I know the garage, I believe the pull-up doors were replaced.
Okay.
Thank you. See if we can find that out for you and get back to you. Swings, if you would also try to look for Foster on that. Is there anybody else from the public that has any other comments? Okay, seeing none.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How do I get on the trash committee now that Mike
You're on.
Randall's not on it?
I think that's
And,
the committee I need to be on.
Gretchen is on the beautification committee with my colleagues. So if you would like to fill in that
on the
space.
trash committee, if I may.
I just have to make sure we don't have a quorum, correct, on that one?
That would be 4, so it's myself, David, and now Mike.
Yeah, so 5 would be a quorum, so we can't do that because then it constitutes a meeting.
I'm sorry, how many?
5 would constitute a quorum.
There's only 3 of us currently on it.
Oh, I thought John was on that.
John's on the parking side.
Okay, yes, so, yes, you can do that.
Okay.
Can I do the beautification?
Were we done?
Yes, you can.
Were we done with the MSD projects?
Yes,
Did you
yes.
close that, or? did-
Yes, I moved on to public comments.
Okay, that was pretty quick. Is there an opportunity so the meeting
Go
is...
ahead, Jim.
The meeting is 12 to 2.
Well, it's supposed to be, we try to keep it an hour. We try to, unless it is a workshop. If it's a workshop, I ask for 2 hours. But we try to keep it to an hour, or a little over today.
Okay. was told the meeting was 12 to 2, so I'm sorry if I'm
No.
belaboring it, but,
Yeah.
but as the new member, I didn't know that we were moving on without recognizing that we were moving on. So is there an opportunity to discuss paving the parking lot that's across from the farmer's market with MSD funds? Has that ever come before the committees as an opportunity to pave that lot so that it can be used
I
for
don't,
parking?
again, that would be a foster call to us. I know that the city has done
We're
some
the IT
study.
committee.
The city
So-
has done some study with a consultant, again, Alderman Astor, Alderman Prill, to find out what the highest and best use was of that property and some other properties. So I know they were taking recommendations from that. I don't know what has been decided. Do either one of you know what has been decided on that?
There have been no decision made regarding that. Just so you're aware, and the committee is aware, there is provisions in the land use ordinance that does not allow corner lots to be turned into parking lots. So it would not make sense to pave that for the intention of a parking lot when we're not allowed to create corner lot parking lots.
Understand.
So
Was
what
that
about
even
all
one
of
of the uses that was being considered by the working group anyway? The park, was using it as a parking lot permanently one of the uses considered by that working group
No,
that did the study?
no.
No.
Parking lot was not a highest and best
Right.
use.
That, I'm guessing that's a relatively new regulation.
No, it's been in there a
Don't think
while.
so.
Well, I'm thinking in terms of the convention center parking lot, which is clearly on the corner.
Correct. And the Calvert lot was going to be parking.
As well
That
as
was
the
already
church front.
retail on the bottom. South front and east front.
I understand. But that might have
Yeah.
been prior.
And Hancock and Pollock is a parking lot.
Yeah, but that was all prior, I think.
Well, if it's the
Well-
rule today, I'm just surprised because that's
gotta
not
be
an
at
old
least-
parking lot.
20 years, I think.
Broad Street and
There you
Craig
go.
is a parking
They're all
lot.
corner parking lots, so why can't we?
But the bank.
No, it's actually a different segregated parking lot that the city has.
The tax office, yeah.
Across the street.
Pollock, you said Pollock and Craig, you said Broad.
Broad Street.
No, it's a Pollock.
Broad Street and Craig.
Well, they both have parking lots, but they both are very old. As opposed to the convention center, which is not very old, but if the rule's the rule, you know?
It's not
Church.
It's the church parking lot beside First
No,
Citizens.
it's segmented. It's not.
First
part of the
Citizens
church.
Bank
The
has.
city
Right,
has,
it's a bank.
the city has like
By
about,
bank.
It's the bank's parking lot, City Hall.
It's segregated church bank as well, but there is a parking lot.
Right.
But I guess.
Yeah, those were all there.
It's
very old.
Yeah, they're very old.
that's why I
Okay.
mentioned it.
The city owns a lot.
Sorry, I mentioned it.
Jim, do you have anything else? Because I do want to try to keep us, I try to keep our regular meetings down to at least an hour because people do give up their lunch times and how we have gathered here today. Does anybody have anything else to bring before the MSD?
Yes, I do, if I can't cut you.
I just had a question. Do the committees meet between the sessions? Is there a chair that reaches out and does that?
Yes,
Okay.
if there is something that they want to get together, I believe we're probably on hold until we know better from the survey. Would you agree on that, Dave? as
I'll
far
be for
as-
beautification committee.
Yeah, same thing.
Are you the chair?
Yes. Well,
Yes.
okay, did you have, I'll get back, did you have another question?
I just wanted to give a little, this proposed project is on the newbern.gov page for MSD. And we've been working on this list all through 2024. So there's 3 pages that I just downloaded, and it's on the website, so you can see where, what we have discussed. And I've just added a few more things that we've talked about today on that list, so hopefully we'll get that updated as well. The proposed projects on the MSD page of newbern.gov. You can look at,
NewbernNC.gov.
thank you, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask, as the new member of the committee, 12 o'clock on a Tuesday is very difficult. Moving patients off the schedule is hard. Is there any way to move it to either a different day like Friday or move it later in the afternoon so that it's not impacting a work day?
That is up to this committee, I know. Tuesdays work good for me.
I can change, so I will do it whenever it works,
Okay.
when it's good for everyone.
It's more difficult to move it to some other time other than lunchtime.
It's very difficult on a Tuesday to have it at lunchtime. That's not really, that doesn't exist in medical.
Lunch?
No.
Oh. Who else here takes lunch?
Afternoons are more difficult for me having a family.
Evening, would everyone consider an evening, 6 o'clock?
Evenings are more difficult for restaurants, and
Yeah.
Mike can agree with that.
How
What about
early
7
morning, about
a.m.? 7
That works,
a.m.?
but that hurts my back kind of time.
One day a month, that's all it is, one day.
I'll bring that up at my back kind of 7 o'clock, a convenient time for anybody on the committee?
Yeah, I don't know how.
It's one meeting a month. Well, no, because we have work meetings.
Yeah, it's one quarter, once a quarter. We have 4 meetings a year, and they're in advance, so maybe we can schedule. I would like to at least, instead of trying to make.
Wednesdays the same issue as Tuesdays?
Wednesdays and Thursdays are easier.
Okay, well, we can, the day might change. We were just, Tuesdays for people kind of felt
Your
that.
boss lets you have lunch on Wednesday and Thursday.
There's no lunch on Wednesday.
I'm gonna bring you
I
a
know it doesn't
sandwich.
look like it, but I don't.
I'm gonna start having pizza delivered to you. You won't be.
How about, I don't know, it's kind of sprung on us, can we think about this and come back? Everybody needs to make a recommendation and chew it over a little bit? I don't know how.
Yeah, we have until May to really see how that works.
Yeah, and we can do that. So please, I'll make it an agenda item that we vote on, so come back with, at least something we would vote on to change time or whatever on our future meetings. Or we've got a couple of months to think.
I do think Friday is counterproductive, a little bit like the summertime. People start
Yeah.
going on vacations and stuff like that.
Agreed. I would prefer to not do Mondays or Fridays.
Yeah, I agree.
On those rare events, have other things.
Okay, well, Thursday works for me, if that's
Yeah, I
better for
could,
you.
we could change the Wednesday.
That works for us.
They do second Thursdays.
Thanks.
Okay, well, we can look at that. Okay, anybody else have any comments? If not, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
And a second? Second. Okay. All those in favor? Thank you all. Have a great day.